Hello, everybody. What is up? Um, I've been not really. I haven't released a video in a hot minute, and it's mainly because I've been playing Kingdom Hearts 3, trying to finalize my opinions on the game, and been kind of going back and forth on it. Now, I wanted to make a video about addressing the sea of Kingdom Hearts 3 lore videos, where they talk about why the lore is stupid. And all I have to say to that is that a lot of these videos present the lore in a way that's a lot different from the games, and the way the game presents the lore is pretty enjoyable. And it is a nonsense when you dig down and think about it really deeply. But if you're thinking that deeply about a game where you play as a guy with a key and he hangs out with Donald and Goofy and goes to Disney Worlds, it's like this game's just a little fun little crossover game. But that doesn't mean it's it doesn't mean it's immune to criticism. But um, in for me, the suspension of disbelief doesn't go away just because there's a bunch of anime guys. I think that the big reason why there's so much debate over the lore is because people think the anime aspects are silly. For me personally, when I see Woody yelling at Xehanort and saying, Xehanort's this like clearly fan made OC white haired anime freak. And when Woody from Toy Story is telling him he doesn't have a heart and no one's loved him and Woody loves his friends, that is, to me, compelling. I enjoyed that. And I know it's silly. I just don't care. I think and a lot of people will say Kingdom Hearts is silly in the best way possible. It is absolutely ridiculous, but it's good. That's why it's good. And to me, I think most of the fan base knows that this is a very silly game and a very silly concept. And nobody asked for. All people asked for was a Disney crossover game with like good fighting. And that's why with Kingdom Hearts 1, a lot of people were like, we don't care that you play as an anime boy because you get a sword and you get to fight along Donald, Goofy, and travel the worlds. And what more could I ask for? And the Final Fantasy characters were just, that was just, hey, no, I didn't expect to see them. So for me, I didn't play the game for Disney. I played the game for the Final Fantasy stuff and ended up really loving it. And then I got more into Disney thanks to Kingdom Hearts. I don't know if that's like, Disney fangirls would probably hate me for saying that. But personally, as a kid, I liked Mulan, I liked Aladdin, I liked Hercules, and besides that, I mainly liked the Pixar stuff. I wasn't that big of a fan, and it's thanks to Kingdom Hearts that I really appreciated. I guess I liked Nightmare Before Christmas too as a little kid, but I started to really appreciate other films like A Little Mermaid, for example. I started to really appreciate a lot of Disney in general thanks to Kingdom Hearts, and really Kingdom Hearts 3 involves the Pirates of the Caribbean movie that isn't the first one, and that's really the only one people like is the first one. And I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed the Pirates of the Caribbean world a lot in Kingdom Hearts 3. I really enjoyed it. In fact, it made me kind of wish that I kept up more with the Pirates of the Caribbean movie franchise. And I might even go back and watch them. That's just the power of Kingdom Hearts. In fact, right when I got to the frozen world of Kingdom Hearts 3, I was in the little ice labyrinth place, and once I finished it, I went and hung out with someone else, and she mentioned we should watch Frozen since you're there at the Kingdom Hearts world. And I was really reluctant to watch Frozen. I really did not want to watch it. But, because I'm like about to get there in Kingdom Hearts, I was like, I'll give it a try. And I watched it. And I gotta be honest, I didn't really like it. I think it's an overrated movie. But when I got to the Kingdom, when I started to see, I was right at the Let It Go scene, and they fully recreate Let It Go in Kingdom Hearts 3. And here's the thing: while I am criticizing Frozen right now as a movie, I don't think it's that good. The song "Let It Go" is popular for a reason. It is a good song. The scene is fun to watch. It's probably the best part of the whole movie, but I feel like the movie wasted a lot of other potential, and so did Kingdom Hearts 3, and I will get to that soon enough. But what I'm trying to say here is that Kingdom Hearts is a franchise that I love. It's very personal to me. I didn't get Kingdom Hearts 1 when it first came out. I waited a few years, bought it for when it was greatest hits because I always wanted to play it, but I never thought I was afraid I wouldn't be able to fully commit to it because RPGs when I was a kid kind of threw me for a loop. Sometimes they're just too hard for my little kid brain. And so I kind of ended up just watching my brother play it, and he had no interest in Kingdom Hearts, meaning that I would not get my money's worth. When I was a little kid, I bought 10, Final Fantasy 10, that is, and I didn't get very far, but I played a little bit at the beginning, and my older brother beat it, and I watched him beat it. So to me, that was getting my money's worth. And then, of course, when I was older, I beat it myself, like multiple times. That's a game. Final Fantasy 10 is one of the few Final Fantasies I've beaten more than once. Um, Besides that, it's like 6 and 7. I've only beat 4 like one time. I should probably go back and play 4 again, but um, and 8 I didn't even finish. But um, I did beat 5. Anyway, to get back to the point before I start talking about Final Fantasy memories, um, when I did buy Kingdom Hearts for cheaper, I was at the right age to beat it, and it was one of the first RPGs that I beat without watching someone else beat before me, meaning I had to figure out everything for myself. But it's such a light RPG. It's definitely made for that age group. It's made for people who are new to to RPGs and stuff like that. And it's a great way to get in. It features a fun story, and not a great story, but a fun one. It is fun. The idea of Keyblade wielder is fun. Stuff like that is cool. So for anyone making videos complaining about the lore, um, most of them even agree that the game's fine. Like even like Jim Sterling on Twitter will be saying the game Kingdom Hearts 3 is fun. It's a fun game. I just think the story's stupid. And it's like most of them agree like it's a fair thing to say that the story is silly, but the game's still good. Um and so that is my biggest problem with Kingdom Hearts 3 though, is that the gameplay really isn't as deep as I thought it was going to be, and this is where I'm really upset. So I've waited a little bit before this video came out. Mainly, well, I got this game the day it came out, like most of you did, and so I'm hoping by now a lot of us have beaten it. This video will contain spoilers, major spoilers. Um, but I'm not going to talk in like super deeper detail, so if you want to listen to it, but I am going to talk about why I'm disappointed with the ending and why I'm disappointed with certain elements of the story, why I'm disappointed with the length of the game, and but before I go into any of that, I want to talk about some non-spoiler stuff, which is just the combat. Now, so if I was going to review this game, the most important thing about Kingdom Hearts is the combat. That is the reason why. That is what sets this series apart from others, because the combat is so much fun in 1 and 2. 1 was such a good little game. It had its like slight jank, but most RPGs are going to have slight jank, which is why the action RPG genre is way more overrated, and I don't have any idea why so many people are okay with it, but I think it's because they've never played Bayonetta. So when they play other like RPGs, when they play like Fallout and Borderlands, and they're really satisfied with it. But then the opposite of that is a game like Destiny, where the RPG elements are barely there, and for the most part, they're just numbers, and the numbers just hold you back from having fun. So the action RPG genre is a very strange one. I think aside from like Witcher, it's not executed very well. I mean, I enjoyed Mass Effect as well, but there's not that many enjoyable action RPG games. A lot of people really enjoy them, but they enjoy the RPG elements. They're not really enjoying the action elements, which is why I don't understand why so many people are afraid and turned off by turn-based combat when it's essentially the same thing. It's you just like mashing attack over and over and over and then using some magic here and there. It's literally the same thing. And people who really want to debate that action RPGs are better for whatever reason are usually full of shit. I've never heard a single compelling argument, and every argument they make basically makes it sound like they don't play much turn-based and they've only really played like Pokemon and maybe like one Final Fantasy. But when it comes to Kingdom Hearts, Kingdom Hearts 1 has a little bit of jank, but the magic system was great. The summons were great. It made you feel really powerful by the time you had Tinkerbell, and it just kept healing you. You could focus on combat. The ability system is probably the greatest thing I've ever seen in an action RPG. The fact that you can fight on the ground, you can fight in the air. I mean, Nomura knows how to make cool action. That's what he's good at. That's the only thing he's good at. So when he makes a game that's about cool action, he can get it done, and it was really awesome. Then we move on to Kingdom Hearts 2, where um, some of the magic is a lot more streamlined, and that's kind of a bad thing because I really liked the way healing worked in Kingdom Hearts 1, and the way that when you used MP, it was very clear that it was like a chunk of MP, like for like MP points, and then you could see you regaining that 1 point. 2 introduced this full-on MP bar, and once it went low, it had to recharge. Don't I don't understand the need for that sort of simplification in the combat. The MP gauge in Kingdom Hearts 1 is far superior. And most people, I feel like, are just feel annoyed and hindered by it. But I guess the reason why they took that is because if they didn't do that, Kingdom Hearts 2 would be a little bit too easy because the combat options are very streamlined. They are. It feels way better. Combat in the game is so much better in Kingdom Hearts 2 with even more amazing abilities. New drive system. The drive system that gives you different forms, and the forms make the combat even more crazy, and it's like this awesome burst of energy you can use. It's seriously so much fun. um, Forms are by far like my favorite thing about Kingdom Hearts 2, and then you combine that with like those forms give you growth abilities, which means you can like double jump, you can glide, you can do like this little fast dodge roll thing. Some really cool abilities that happen thanks to those abilities, and it's just very nice. And it makes you feel super strong, super powerful. It gives you something to do with your other keyblades that you're collecting because it lets you use them as secondary keyblades for different forms. So you always have like all your keyblades are being used. It keeps up with the tradition of certain keyblades and keeps up tradition with like Winnie the Pooh and summons and stuff like that. Kingdom Hearts 2 also took it a step further with forms, whereas Kingdom Hearts 1 they had the underwater world with Little Mermaid. Kingdom Hearts 2 they added in the Lion King world, which isn't as fun as the Little Mermaid world in my opinion, but yeah. At least they did something cool and new, and they kept up all these like different forms. We can talk about Birth by Sleep and Dream Drop Distance all you want, but to me they've always felt like little spin-off games. They never felt like real entries into the Kingdom Hearts franchise. And while they're important for the story, they didn't have to be, but they are important to the story. And I have to say, Birth by Sleep is pretty boring. I don't like that you have to beat the game like 3 times to get the full story. I don't like that. I don't like the link system. I don't like the random abilities popping up on the sides instead of having general abilities. Dream Drop Distance comes out much later, and it's pretty similar. I think Dream Drop with the allies idea, where you can like get enemy allies and make them your allies, was really good. I think that was one of the most fun things I've played in a Kingdom Hearts game. And to me, it was like, well, if you're going to do a spin-off game, this is a good way to do it because I still get my allies, my buddies, but I also just get such a fun little twist on the whole shebang. Now, the other really awesome part of Dream Drop is, of course, that you get to play as Riku so much. It feels natural and perfect. We could play as Riku in Chain of Memories, and in Rechain of Memories, we got to play as Riku in like a 3D environment. So that was probably the best part of those games was that you got to play as Riku. I think most people didn't expect that at the time, and I didn't even play Chain of Memories till after I beat Kingdom Hearts 2. So yeah, I really did not expect that. So I do want to say though is that I love all of these games. I love Chain of Memories, Rechain of Memories. I love 1, 2. I love Dream Drop. I don't really love Birth by Sleep, but I mean I didn't even play the Roxas game or Coded or Recoded or whatever on the DS. I didn't play those games, but you don't need to. um, and Now we're finally on 3. We're finally on Kingdom Hearts 3, and what did they do with the combat to make it different from 2? Well, they completely removed the drive bar, which means no more forms. Okay, that's not good. I really like that in 2. But instead, your keyblades have different forms in them to replace that. After all, you don't need a drive form and transforming keyblade forms. And because of this, the keyblades have a lot of variety in the combat, which keeps the game from going stale. The problem is that since they're tied to certain keyblades, you end up using the keyblade with the most stats most of the time. Luckily, the game is smart enough to give you some keyblades that have more strength and some that have more MP. So you have a reason to use at least 2 keyblades, one for strength and one for magic. So I found myself using the Tangled and the Frozen keyblade whenever I wanted to use some magic attacks, and I was using the Toy Story and the Monsters Inc. keyblades when I wanted attack. Though by the time I leveled up the keyblades, which is a really nice new feature, is leveling up the keyblades, I leveled up one specific keyblade all the way I could, and basically just used that throughout the whole game. And so I really at one point had more magic and attack on one keyblade, and I just used that one only. And I kind of got tired of the weapon forms, but I kept using them because they just give you such a nice advantage in combat. Um, a lot of people have negative things to say about the Disney rides. Most of the time, I don't want to use them, and I use them just to skip them. I'm not joking. Other times, I use them just to spam attack because it just gives you a lot of damage, basically, with a big area of effect. So yeah, it's just this really not fun addition to the game that does so much damage that you'd be stupid to not use it, and I really dislike it. What I realized is that the way this works in this game is that you kind of just mash attack and then you get things to press, and then you use those things. You get to use those like special attacks. In Kingdom Hearts 2, I really liked the triangle button stuff because it led to some interesting counterattack options, or just led to some different and cool ways to fight certain enemies. Basically, the way you played the game depended on what enemy you were fighting, and that led to a lot of fun moments. Whereas in Kingdom Hearts 3, the way you fight enemies doesn't really matter. I found myself doing the same thing throughout the entire game, and it never had any reason to use something else. The only times I used something else was when I'd use a summon, and most of the summons are terrible. The only summon that I got any use out of was the Lion King one, where you use Simba, and he basically is Ifrit and just makes explosions of fire all around you. I used the Little Mermaid one too, but I don't get the point when the Simba one is so much better. The rest I only used like one time each just to see what they did, and yeah, I gotta say the summons pretty much just exist just to throw extra Disney characters in the game. I really didn't think they need to exist for many gameplay reasons, and would have preferred if I had a drive form over having changing keyblades and different summons. Now, summons are a staple in Kingdom Hearts, so the fact that they're still here is a good thing. I don't want them to be gone. But at the same time, I didn't want the drive form to be gone. And why did the MP gauge need to stay the same? Why couldn't they go back to the good version? Like, why did that stay from Kingdom Hearts 2? Why didn't they try something new with the MP gauge? Now, also, there's another feature called Focus, which I used about once in combat, and every other time I used Focus was just to teleport to platforms, which is essentially how Final Fantasy XV's teleporting works. Again, I really didn't use this much throughout the game. I really didn't. So now let's talk about the worlds, because while people complain about the story in Kingdom Hearts, what really a big part of when they're complaining about it, they say the worlds, the Disney stuff, literally doesn't matter to the overarching story. While that's completely not true, each world does add a little bit to Sora's state of mind and adds a little bit to his thoughts on Kairi. And Kingdom Hearts 1, it's about Kairi and Riku he's trying to find. So there's really no reason for this to be said. It's very stupid. But let's talk about the worlds in Kingdom Hearts 3. First world, the game starts off in combat in the Hercules world, and this is how you do it right. This is how you do. This is a big complaint for Kingdom Hearts 2 was that there's all this beginning stuff with Roxas to explain the story to new players, which to me it's fine because it's explaining the story to the new players. I'm not going to complain about that, and it's not the worst thing to get through. And well, I actually do like Roxas. I actually do like Twilight Town and all that stuff. To me, I really like the story in Kingdom Hearts, so I don't care. But other people complained a lot about it. They cared a lot. But in this one, you start out right in the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 2.9. You're playing as Sora wearing his Kingdom Hearts 2 clothes, which is kind of cool. And you're fighting in Hercules World alongside Hercules for the first time. And this was such a good introduction. I was so excited to play the game. I was seriously like enamored with the game. I thought this was like seriously the best Kingdom Hearts to date. I couldn't believe how good it was. But as the game went on, I realized that it was so much so soon. And even when you got new abilities going forward, they didn't really change the gameplay, and the game started to feel really stale really fast. Now, going to the Toy Story world was one of the first times I played a Kingdom Hearts game where going to the world got me so happy. Like in Kingdom Hearts 1, going to Nightmare Before Christmas World and Aladdin got me really hyped. Seeing Cloud and Hercules got me hyped. But the Tarzan thing, I was like, no. There's certain worlds that I'm in Kingdom Hearts where I'm like, stop. Like Monstro, I think most people agree, stop. Kingdom Hearts 2 had Pirates of the Caribbean, which got me really hyped when I got there. Besides that, though, there wasn't much in Kingdom Hearts 2 that got me super happy and excited when I got there. Kingdom Hearts 3, when I got to Toy Story World, that was like a dream come true. They actually had Tim Allen to play Buzz, and the Woody sounded close enough. It was actually really, really good. In the Toy Story world, they created the story to be that they've been playing a game similar to Final Fantasy, and because of that, they think Sora is that character. And so there's some really great dialogue in the entirety of the Toy Story section. It was really fun, and the mech robots I thought made a lot of fun, and every time I go to that world, I really enjoy that part of it. Next up was the Tangled world, which Tangled, the way they recreated the scenes from Tangled, I enjoyed it. I was very impressed with it, and also Tangled is just fun. That's an actual pretty good Disney movie, and yeah, it was enjoyable to see all over again. I didn't mind how closely they recreated the movies because that's the point. Whereas with Toy Story, and Hercules, they kind of made up their own new stories. With this, they didn't, and I really did enjoy it. And it was around this point of the game that I started to not have fun with Kingdom Hearts anymore. Tangled had like this big maze-like world, and I was like, this is really cool how in Kingdom Hearts they can have like this toy world, and then they can have this fantasy world, and both worlds feel so unique. It was really fun. And then you get to the Monsters Inc. world, and it's okay. It's serviceable. It was fine. Nothing wrong with it. But then you get to the Frozen world, and it's so long, and this is where my problems begin, because this is the first world where you don't get two allies, you only get one. And this really bummed me out. This really, really bummed me out. I did not expect them to do this. I thought they were going to do like 2 characters per world. So I was really confused when I got here, and for the most part, I was playing this weird section of Frozen that didn't even happen in the movie with this big ice labyrinth thing. And I was like, okay, it's an ice world stage, that's fine. And I was like, I'm only Donald and Goofy though, so I started to get worried, and I was like, I can't wait till I get my allies. And when you meet up with Elsa, she doesn't join your party. I said, okay, maybe she'll join with me later. Then I actually watched Frozen and realized that Elsa, even though she has ice powers, she probably won't join your party. It would be really cool if she joined your party, but it's probably not going to happen because the way the movie worked, she didn't do anything. And that's probably my least favorite thing about the movie. It would have been really awesome if Elsa, did something with her ice powers to do an attack or something. and it wasn't in the movie at all. In fact, Elsa was mostly a damsel in distress the entire movie, with Anna being the main hero. I thought that was a horrible decision, and but to me, Frozen's not my cup of tea. It's really not my kind of movie. And so it was a musical, and it was nonsense. So I didn't really care about it. And then I watched, then I found Anna, and I found Kristoff in the game, and I was thinking, when I was watching the movie, I was thinking, they'll probably do Kristoff and Olaf as allies. I would say Anna, but she really doesn't have any fighting capability at all. So I don't think they'll do that. Whereas with Kristoff and I was thinking maybe Sven, but I don't know if they would go as far as to make like a fucking reindeer your ally. So I was thinking Kristoff and Olaf would probably be your ally, especially because Olaf is such a beloved character. People love that character, so maybe he'll be like a replacement for Elsa and have Elsa's ice powers, snow powers, and maybe Elsa will be a summon. Wouldn't that be cool if Elsa was always with you and you could summon her and she would use like ice powers, or maybe Olaf would be the summon or something like that. There is no summon from Frozen. When you get to the Frozen world, there's Kristoff, Sven, Anna, and Elsa, and they all hang out by the Crystal Palace, and they just stand there and they do nothing. It's all of these characters, and they don't use them for anything. And your ally is the fucking snow monster that Elsa creates in Frozen to throw Anna and Kristoff off a cliff. What wasted fucking potential! Like, he should have been a summon, or he should have been a move that Elsa like brought him into battle. When I got him, I was hoping that maybe, just maybe, Elsa would join the party too, and it'd be Elsa and the snowman together. Elsa never joined the party. How do you make a character who has fucking ice powers and you don't showcase them using that in combat in a magical fighting combat game? Like it blows my mind how Elsa is not a party member or a summon. That absolutely blows my mind. It floors me. And it was at this point when I was playing the Frozen world where I found the Frozen world to be my least favorite. I found the Frozen world to be not very fun, and the game really didn't get much better from there. After that, I believe, was the Pirates of the Caribbean world, which I really liked part of it. I liked the boat stuff. I liked the shooting cannon stuff. But once we got to the crab stuff, I was really over it. Luckily, once you get past the crabs, collecting crabs isn't so bad. You can collect them just from defeating enemies and pirate ships, and a lot of them are on stranded islands. I actually did thoroughly check all of Port Royal. I got over 500 crabs, and the game automatically pulled up a cutscene instead of me going to talk to Jack or whatever. It just pulled up a cutscene, and so I got there. I got the crabs. I did whatever. Going around the open world on the ship is fun, but a lot of the ship combat stuff kind of was not fun. It was mostly tedious. I'm glad they tried to break up the gameplay though. Then you get to Big Hero 6 world. It's so boring. They didn't even try. It's just one big map. It's like this big free roam city world. It feels like I'm playing Disney Infinity, and I'm like, I don't. It's just not fun, and I don't care. And yeah, at that point in the game, it was really boring. Not necessary, and again, only one ally. When you have all those superheroes and you only get Baymax as your ally, so stupid. And then let's talk about the final worlds. Not the final world, which is a world, but there's a few things you can do once you go to the end of the game. Now, here's the thing. Leading up to this game, I was really excited about Kairi. I was really excited about Axel. And they're in the cutscenes of this game, but besides that, they don't do much of anything. You get to play as Riku and Aqua, which is really awesome, but you don't get to play as Kairi, and the only time you fight alongside her, she's taken out of the combat immediately. I could barely see what her AI did at all before she disappeared from the battle. It was honestly terrible. And for the game to build up the fact that she's going to be a Keyblade warrior, and then they did nothing with it, really was unsatisfying. And now let's talk about Kairi in general for a second. While some people make fun of her for being a bland character, I at least admired her and Sora's devotion to each other. That was to me endearing and charming to see that in the game, and I was one of those kids rooting for them. Um, you get to see Sora and Kairi spend a lot of time together at one point in the game, but because there's no danger, there's none of him searching for them. There's not much emphasis on them, meaning that the game really needed to show us what Kairi and Riku were doing, which with Riku they actually did pretty well. They showed us exactly what he was doing pretty much at all times, which was exploring and going to the Dark World with King Mickey. I would have enjoyed more gameplay moments where you play as Riku, but I'll let it go, and for the most part, it was acceptable. However, I really would have, I don't understand why they did so little with Riku. Um, Now, one of my big, there's a lot of stuff like this, but let me try to get back to Kairi for a moment. They really didn't show us what Kairi was up to. They showed her talking with Axel a lot, but they didn't show any like real training. And because of this, it's hard to even imagine her using a Keyblade. And she was reduced back to the damsel in distress yet again, which I'm not one of those guys who's like really hates the damsel in distress trope or anything, but when it's done to this many times, to this degree, it's not that exciting. In Kingdom Hearts 1, her being the damsel was made sense because she was one of the seven people of light or whatever, one of the seven princesses, and she, had no heart. It was taken from her, and it was with Sora the whole time, and blah blah blah. So it was fine that she was, just waiting for Sora. But then, and then when you save her, you get the Oathkeeper. Kingdom Hearts 2, you get to Kairi, and see, the thing is that you get the Oblivion fighting against Riku, and you get the Oathkeeper when you save Kairi. So when you go off and you in Kingdom Hearts 2, you once again get the Oathkeeper and Oblivion around that time when you meet up back with Kairi and Riku. So in this game, there's no Oathkeeper or Oblivion at all, which means this is one of the first ones to really get rid of that trend where you have those, which is really disappointing and upsetting because those are, while they're not the best Keyblades in the game, in fact, far from it, they are kind of signature Keyblades to Kingdom Hearts. Now, they're still in the game because Roxas has both of them, but it's very silly. So let's also talk about the fact that Ventus and Roxas come back, as well as Xion, as well as Terra, as well as literally every fucking character comes back. And it is built up so poorly. It is the battles of the final world are seriously a lot of fun. That was one of the most fun parts of the game, was the final section of the game. But fighting alongside the other heroes didn't was super fun too, but like it just like I didn't it wasn't even that big of a deal that Roxas and Xion were back. Roxas was not acting the way I would have expected him to. Neither was Terra, neither was Ventus and Aqua when they reunited, No one was acting the way they should. Sora and Roxas barely even interact with each other, and Roxas and Sora have been communicating with each other a lot in Kingdom Hearts 2. Roxas and Sora have a strong connection, and they kind of treated Roxas's connection with Sora like it barely meant anything at all, and Sora's just kind of housing him, and they don't have much of a connection besides that. Roxas is Sora's nobody. Roxas is Sora, but like a negative version of him. Like, you what? And then the whole thing with Ventus, they barely even touched on Ventus and Roxas being together. It's like all these characters were reunited and brought into this one timeline, this one moment in the lore, and they didn't even explore that much at all. You know, they tried to do this little lovely ending where everyone was back together and having fun and happy, but they didn't really do much with it. Um, so, you know, it just, for the most part, was pretty stupid. It sucked. Um, so obviously, I have a lot of negative things to say about Kingdom Hearts 3. I still have to go back, finish it completely. I was trying to get all the Oracle Com pluses so I could get the ultimate weapon, and I'm kind of already done trying. The thing is about this game is that I really don't care. Like, it wants you to do some of these really bad mini games. I mean, Kingdom Hearts 3 has some of the worst mini games I've ever seen in a Kingdom Hearts game. Um, I don't understand the point of this and why they would force these on you as a way to get the ultimate weapon. It just, when you have to do everything in the game to get the ultimate weapon, it's kind of pointless because you aren't going to have anything to do with it. So, at least there's the battle gates, but to me, the battle gates are so much more fun, and you have to do some of them to get the ultimate weapon, at least to get the recipe. So, I feel like when I play the game, when I go back and play the game more, I'm just going to do more battle gates, and I'm not really going to worry about the ultimate weapon because it doesn't really matter that much. In fact, now I'm at like level 50 and the battle gates aren't as tough as they were when I was at level like 30 something. So, yeah, I don't feel like I even need the ultimate weapon except for to get the trophy for my complete trophy list. But for the most part, Kingdom Hearts 3 was a really fun, good game. It's still Kingdom Hearts. It's still satisfying, but it's probably my least favorite of all of them, with the combat being so lackluster. When you compare the final world in Kingdom Hearts 3 to the final world of Kingdom Hearts 2, there's just no question. What Kingdom Hearts 3 had, or is whatever compared to Kingdom Hearts 2, where the final world was this amazing experience where you're climbing this fucking tower and you eventually come across Riku, and he's able to be your ally. As long as you're there, Riku is your ally. It was so damn cool. I never saw it coming, and Riku was revealed there for the first time. You know, you didn't really get to see what he looked like until then, and it was this awesome experience to get to fight alongside Riku. And I never, it's that last world that made me realize how much Riku is badass. And so having Sora and Riku together for that last world while they're both older was cathartic and amazing. It was seriously everything I really wanted it to be. And so the finale of Kingdom Hearts 2 and plus the final boss is so awesome. But the boss rush thing they did with Kingdom Hearts 3 made Xehanort, who seemed like a super godly badass character, feel a lot weaker. And then it made Ansem also feel pretty weak because the boss battles in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 are a lot tougher than what you have to do in Kingdom Hearts 3. Then, of course, when you finally get to fight Xehanort, the final version, it didn't really feel like it was that big of a deal. It wasn't like Xehanort was um, a hard battle. It was just a long battle. It really wasn't difficult at all. But none of Kingdom Hearts 3 is difficult. In fact, as I'm doing more of the battle gates and the end-game content, I'm realizing that there was not much challenge in this game. And the most challenging aspects of Kingdom Hearts 3 are within the bad mini games that have janky physics and bad controls that you have to somehow do really good in, and no. So I feel like you can complete the game easy just with a guide pulled up, but it's just so much walking around and backtracking that it's not fun and it's not worth it in a game like this. It's really not worth it at all. So I'm going to play it a little bit more. I still want to like do all the battle gates and stuff, but and see the full potential of what this game has to offer. But a lot of that isn't even that much fun. A lot of battle gates is just mindlessly mashing the attack button, and that's just not fun to me. So I really think that this is the worst of the three. And when it comes to the entirety of Kingdom Hearts, it's worse than Dream Drop Distance as well. So I would say for me, two's my favorite, then one, then Dream Drop, and then maybe three there. And then I would say Birth by Sleep after that. And actually, I would say Rechain of Memories, then Birth by Sleep. um, yeah, it's really being better than Rechained and Birth by Sleep is not much of a, you know, most of the reason why it's even better is because the abilities have come back, but the abilities aren't really as cool as they used to be, and it's just a full on like game with allies and summons and magic and everything's the way it's supposed to be. If Birth by Sleep played like Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, it would probably be a better game than this, you know. But Birth by Sleep was designed to be a PSP game. So, it has this weird link system. But even Dream Drop isn't designed to be a console game, and you can tell when you play it, and I still think it's more fun than what we got here. And that's not good. And for me, for a long time, I was saying Dream Drop really felt like the next Kingdom Hearts game. It didn't feel like a weird spin-off. It felt like Kingdom Hearts 3. And in fact, it would even continue the story forward. So to me, it really was a sequel. But yeah, it was really sad that 3 just couldn't live up to the hype. But the thing is, 3 isn't a game that took a long time to come out because it went from 1, 2, then 3. Kingdom Hearts went 1, Chain of Memories, 2, Birth by Sleep, 358 over 2 days. Like Recoded was in there somewhere. Then they remade Rechain of Memories because it was part of Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix. And then they made Dream Drop Distance, and then they did all the HD re-releases to build up the hype for Kingdom Hearts 3. So like, it's not like 3 was a game that was like couldn't be done. It was a game that they wanted to do all the spin-off stuff before they finished the trilogy. Kingdom Hearts 3 doesn't really feel like the end of the trilogy. It just kind of feels like the next chapter. And to me, it feels almost just like another side story. It didn't feel like it didn't have the big grand experience that Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 had. Mainly because I didn't feel like the final battle was challenging at all, and it was mostly just tedious. The funnest parts were the final section of the game with all the gauntlet battles, but they could have done more interesting things with that. And also, it's very clear that as the game ends, that there's going to be a sequel. So again, this does not feel like the final chapter in the Kingdom Hearts trilogy. It feels like Kingdom Hearts is just the next. This is just the next Kingdom Hearts. So I am happy that they tried something new with a lot of the worlds and stuff like that. And I hope that they do something a little bit cooler next time. This is kind of like the worst. Sora's and Donald and Goofy's interaction with each other are probably the best they've ever been. But as far as like what Sora does, what he accomplishes, and how he grows, this is probably the worst. It seems like Sora's development and growth just kind of dropped off at a certain point in this game. And a lot of it just feels boring. And yeah, I'm not going to talk too much longer about this video. I complain about the gameplay, complain about the world, complain about everything, but at the end of the day, I still enjoyed this game, and I want to go back and keep playing it. So I'm going to have to give this game a 7, or maybe even a 6. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I have a hard time giving it a 7. I'm having a hard time saying it's a 7 and not a 6. But I'm going to have to say, I want to say it's a 7. But I feel like the more I play it, the more I'm going to try to want to say it's a 6. But I'm trying to remember the initial joy and fun I had when I first started playing it. So because of that, I'm going to say it's a 7 out of 10 game. But keep in mind that I consider Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 to be both 10 out of 10s. Mainly because I think Kingdom Hearts 1 is like a perfect experience of a fucking masterpiece of a game. And I feel like 2 built on it and evolved it further to make it even more enjoyable experience. That I know some people like 1 more than 2, but I think 2 really pushed it further. And I think 2 is my favorite of the franchise by a long shot. So to me, they're both 10 out of 10 games because a sequel that improves on a 10 out of 10 prequel and has like basically no drawbacks, or if the drawbacks they do have can be easily overlooked. That deserves to be a 10 out of 10. Oh, let's also talk about the fact that Kingdom Hearts 3 has not only does it not have the Oath Keeper in Oblivion, it doesn't have a tournament world. And Hercules world is in the fucking game, and there's no tournament world? That makes no sense to me. These are staples that are in Kingdom Hearts that I'm glad. Like, when I was playing Kingdom Hearts 2 for the first time, I was like, I really hope this thing becomes a staple. Like, I really want to do another tournament world. You can't just take out the tournament worlds, man. That's the whole reason why Hercules World is a fun world. You can't just take out the tournaments. Not to mention, let's also talk about the fact there's no Final Fantasy characters this time around. Not a single one. Not a single reference or anything to Final Fantasy. Now, you could say Kingdom Hearts 3 doesn't really need it this time around because there's so many anime characters thanks to the Kingdom Hearts characters. That at this point, Kingdom Hearts and Disney is a crossover within itself. But the anime characters that were Final Fantasy were still really cool because they brought it closer to a crossover of Final Fantasy and Disney. Seeing Cloud in Kingdom Hearts was awesome. However, I will say this that it did feel more like it didn't matter. Like I was more excited to see Final Fantasy characters than I was to see the Disney characters. But sometimes that's the price you have to pay. I would have really, really enjoyed some at least, but nope, no real Final Fantasy characters. The only times you got to see them were in the flashbacks and stuff like that. So, kind of a big letdown there. Kingdom Hearts 3, yeah, it's a letdown in a lot of ways. Uh, I almost want to give it a 6 just for all the letdowns it gives, but I want to be fair and not come off as a biased Kingdom Hearts fanboy. But I have to say, for this game, it's not really made for people who aren't Kingdom Hearts fanboys. You really need to be a big fan of Kingdom Hearts to enjoy this game. So maybe 6 is deserving, but I'm still going with a 7. And yeah, I would say Dream Drop Distance is like a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. Birth by Sleep is probably a 6. And Rechained is probably also a 6 because to me, it's not enough content there. I think it's below average, but I guess would average be a 5 because that's in the middle? No, you don't want to be in the middle. So yeah, I'd say yeah, it's like a 7 out of 10, and that's kind of lackluster considering the other two in the main trilogy are both 10 out of 10 games. So all right, I'm gonna end the video here before it hits an hour long. Probably gonna be my only video about Kingdom Hearts 3, and I'm probably gonna move right the fuck on talking back about Smash and Dragon Ball again, because there's a lot of exciting stuff going on with Smash as people are trying to predict who the next DLC character will be, with a lot of fun evidence. The Xbox Live being announced on Switch adds a lot more to these theories that a Microsoft character could be in Smash. I think it's very likely at this point. In fact, I think it's so much more likely. It's crazy. And then, of course, with Dragon Ball FighterZ, we still got to figure out those last two DLC characters. Who can they be? And, stuff like that. So, I'm going to end the video right here. That's my thoughts on Kingdom Hearts 3. Fun, but disappointing at the same time. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next one.